How to travel with a dog from USA to Europe. This is for dogs who travel in cabin with you under the seat, not under the plane. I know there is a different process for bigger dogs, and this is my experience with flying with a smaller dog to Europe from the US. First, it does require a lot of paperwork and preparation. You have to know what countries you are going to, or if you're just going to one, that is fine. And you have to have the address and the dates of where you are staying because the paperwork that the vet files with the you also need to know that your entry date on the paperwork is the day you enter the country, not the day you leave. A lot of times from the US going over to Europe, your entry day is a day later because we lose a lot of time because they are ahead of us. And you also need to put the country of origin, which will be where a layover it is. So, for example, I moved to Barcelona, but I had a layover first in Lisbon, Portugal. So, Portugal was my country of entry into Europe. Is the requirements that your dog needs to have to go from USA to Europe? First, the biggest one is the rabies vaccine. Thankfully, most dogs in the US are rabies vaccinated, so this is not an issue unless your dog is younger and they haven't completed their rabies vaccines yet. The rabies vaccine, if your dog does not have it, needs to get it 21 days before 10 days before leaving. So that means that you need approximately 31 days to get your dogs finished with their rabies vaccine before they can fly over to Europe. So they get the vaccine, wait 21 days, and then you can only file paperwork 10 days before you are leaving. That's just how it works. It seems fast, but they have a system for it and it's fast. Second is they need a microchip. The microchip is for if they get lost, it will have your information and any phone numbers and addresses in case that does happen. They need the microchip number because that goes on the paperwork as well. Is you want to make sure your vet is accredited to file the paperwork with the USDA. You can call and ask that ahead of time because not every vet at every veterinarian practice will be qualified. So you want to make sure that as well and that you are scheduling an appointment for this specifically and not just a regular appointment and then asking for paperwork because they will send you the information you need to bring in ahead of time so that they can fill out the paperwork for you. So you want to make sure everything you give them is accurate. So when they fill it in and send it to the USDA, everything is accurate and appropriate. You also want to make sure you know what the flight is, what day it's getting in, what time it's getting in, if the dog is flying with you. You also want to double check that the airline that you bought a ticket for does allow dogs. Some airlines, unfortunately, you can't fly with dogs in between the different borders. So you definitely want to double check this as well. Another thing, if you are moving to Europe and not just traveling within Europe, your dog will need to get an EU animal passport. This is issued by each country, and then they are eligible to travel within all the Schengen borders, and it is required. So if you are moving to Spain, and let's say you want to take a day trip or a weekend trip to France, your dog needs a passport. It's not just paperwork. The only paperwork you need outside of Schengen is if you are going to be traveling to the UK or outside of the Schengen borders, then you will need to go into the vet here, get the separate paperwork, but they need the passport as well. That there are different dog groups within the different cities in Europe, and people in those groups will be able to assist you or friends on finding a vet that can do this paperwork once you arrive. You need to also have the rabies vaccine and the microchip. So I use the paperwork and vet work I had previously when I went to a vet here. The pricing for vets in Barcelona or Spain in general can range from about 60 euros to 200 euros, depending on where you go. I actually tried to go to one first where another American told me, and she said it was around $200. But actually, I couldn't get into the vet. I don't know if it was a language issue. They didn't understand me. They turned me away. And I actually went to another vet through a local person, and that only cost me 60 euros. The requirements you need for the EU animal passport is also rabies vaccination and microchips. They will need the number of the microchip, the rabies vaccine, when it was given, who it was given, and the country it was given in, and when it expires. As most dog owners know, the rabies vaccine is good every 3 years. So you need to update the European travel passport for the dog if you don't use up everything every 3 years to verify this, or you won't be able to travel with the dog. How the EU passport works once you are in Spain is you schedule an appointment with the vet to get this paperwork. They ask to see the paperwork, verify it is legitimate. They handwrite in everything in the passport and then laminate it so it is sealed. And then you have to go and print your own photo to put in. So go to a photo place, pick a good front image photo. Recently, especially if your dog is older like mine, I chose a more recent photo than a young one, and glue that in yourself as well. Once you have this passport, you are easily able to travel within the Schengen borders with your pet, as long as whatever mode of transportation allows it, because some airlines and some trains within Europe do not allow dogs. So you want to make sure if you're traveling within the borders that they allow dogs as well. One last thing is the vet will also need your identification to put in to show that you are the owner of the dog, whether it is a local ID or a passport. I use my passport, and they put those numbers in so that they can double check that whoever's traveling with the dog is the dog's true owner. This information and video helps when traveling with the dog from the US to Europe and getting a European passport for your dog once they are here. I think it is a very easy and seamless process once you are here. It was a lot of work coming from the US to Europe with the dog because you have to do the paperwork. It was expensive. It's like $200 USDA to file the paperwork, plus the cost of your vet appointment, and then plus the cost of paying to fly your dog over here. But going from Europe to USA is a lot easier. So when I go home to travel, I will file paperwork here in Spain for the US government and go back that way. So once you're here, it's a little bit easier with the passport. And if you have any other questions, leave them below and I will try and answer them. Bye.